To the generation that failed to kill itself with the Tide Pods, the manufacturers of cancer sticks presented a shiny new toy, the Vape, or as it's officially called, Electronic Nicotine Delivery Systems. And our country wants to ban it because people are getting addicted to it. To nicotine. Did they just forget that regular cigarettes also have nicotine in it? It's in the name. It's called an e-cigarette. And while that was an easy joke to write, it's not really their fault, because the reason they were so late to address how popular vapes have gotten has a lot to do with how it's marketed, as an alternative to the conventional cigarette with a focus on helping you quit smoking. And in our country, where 13% of the 7.2 lakhs annual premature deaths are tobacco related, that seems like a desperately needed answer. So, instead of first putting in guidelines to prevent it from becoming a fad that kids drool over, they let it come into the country knowing that it has nicotine in them. That's like dating someone with anorexia and then complain about them wasting all the food. And the rising rate of teen usage of vape products and its ready availability online has the uncles and aunties worried that their betas are going to be doing their drugs. And that logic is the reason behind this ban. Now, let's talk money. Tobacco production and sales account for nearly 2% of the tax revenue in India and employ nearly 7 million people, which gives a huge incentive for the tobacco industry to keep smokers addicted and stop companies like Juul from shipping their products in. Meanwhile, India's vapor industry is reportedly valued at 15.6 million in 2017 and is expected to grow nearly 60% a year up to 2022. Also, vaping is a diaper-wearing death machine that's feeding off the influence its suit and tie cancer cousin has, which has gotten really popular in the last 10 years or so. And because of that, there's not enough evidence to talk about the long-term effects of e-cigarettes, but it's still nicotine, so it's still harmful. And just to move away from cancer, you should know that the e-cigarette industry isn't really regulated, at least in India. And the products you find on the market don't meet global safety standards, which usually happens when something is illegal but has some demand. And often the people that put it on the market are less than qualified to sell you something that can kill you. But before you make up your mind, the Royal College of Physicians elaborated in a 200-page report called Nicotine Without Smoke, which clarified most of the concerns people have about e-cigarettes, basically saying that e-cigarettes are not a gateway to smoking, they do not result in the normalization of smoking, and that it is useful for quitting smoking, with their long-term harm probably less than 5% compared to other tobacco products. The key part there being that it is useful in cutting down on smoking for addicts, but however, this is no reason to start vaping because it's technically not as lethal as an actual cigarette. And now, under the proposal by the Indian Ministry, first-time offenders will face the comfort of prison for 1 year with a fine of 1 lakh, while repeat offenders get to own that thug life for 3 years and a fine of 5 lakhs. All this is like getting in trouble for skipping the signal, while the guy next to you is literally stealing someone else's car. Look, I'm not saying we should all be vaping away our futures, but if this ban affects people who are actually trying to quit smoking, whose futures are really going to be stubbed out?